because you're going to have a chance to ask me a question, and I'll answer that in a little bit. So you can, like, there's an Ask Scott question. Perfect chance to do that. Don't waste it. No, don't waste it. Don't waste it. All right. It's not Man U or Man City. All right, here we go. We are going to get started. Who's ready to get started? Is this loud? It seems like really, like I want to whisper. Yeah, looks like I'm just going to whisper. Yeah, all right. How are we doing tonight? Let's go, dude. Giddy up. Oh, it's great. Okay, so I'm going to start with a little admission. My head's not totally in the game right now. It'll happen, trust me. My head's not in the game. Wilderness to Land. In 3 minutes, the Brewers start. So I'll give you updates every now and then. Yes. Oh, my two of my kids are at the game. I want to. What's that? I have 3 children. No, one went with me yesterday. So we're going to start. And we are talking about wilderness and land. Who's ready to talk about some wilderness and land? How many of you have ever been to a wilderness? How many of you have ever been to a land? Then we are all set for this. This is great. This is really good. So, what do we usually start with? Yes! We're going to start with an opening prayer. So, as usual, I will be the leader. This is like 3-point font. So, yeah, for the adults, squint a little bit. The kids, you'll be fine. All right, so you guys are the group. So, dear God, we are thankful that you are one true God.
There is no other God before you.
Sometimes you put other things before you.
Friends, clothes, material things, popularity.
Forgive us.
Sometimes we ignore our neighbor and focus solely on ourselves.
Forgive us.
Sometimes we forget all that you have done for us.
Forgive us.
Help us to keep our hearts and minds on you.
Amen. I like that prayer. I don't have to talk as much. This is really good. All right, so a couple things to get started, some updates. We have more volunteering opportunities for anybody who is looking for them. We have the community meal on October 6th, at this Sunday. If you are able to help with that, that would be great. The following Saturday, does anybody know what LWR stands for? Yes. Well, it doesn't stand for the quilt things, but I think you're on the right track. Yes. Yes. How did you know that? Did somebody? Yeah. Lutheran World Relief. Yes. And Abib, you're right. We donate a lot of things to Lutheran World Relief. The quilts that are around here are one of them. And so we're going to be doing a loading of trucks. We have a lot of supplies that we're shipping off. And so we have a truck coming on October 12th. It's a Saturday. And there's a good opportunity to help load that truck. And then a couple weeks from now, we are doing Open Table here. How many of you have volunteered for Open Table before? It's pretty awesome. It's pretty fun. Yeah. So we'll do it again on Sunday the 20th. And of course, worship assistance as well. Yeah, it was canceled, unfortunately. I didn't do it. Do you know what the messenger is? It's me. So anyway, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to go this year. Tell your parents, let them take you. All right. Ask me a question.
What's best for you?
Okay, so the best Premier team. I am a Chelsea fan. Okay. But, I've seen Crystal Palace and play Liverpool. When you're in London, you just do what you can do. The best game I've seen Barcelona and Real Madrid. Real Madrid's actually my team. So, yes. That's a long question. Instead of childhood, I'll answer how was my day. So yesterday, I do Pilates, okay? Yeah, I know. Seriously. Yeah, this doesn't happen on accident, okay? I do Pilates once a week in the morning. And so I go yesterday, it's at the JMBA, okay, because my wife works at SC Johnson. And so I'm doing my Pilates thing, stretching and all that kind of stuff. And I get done, and my wife texts me. There's only 2 people in class, okay? This is a long story, so save your arms. There's only 2 people in class, me and another woman, all right? So my wife texts me on my way to work. She says, hey, that other woman that was in class with you, she works with me. I'm like, that's great. How cool. You know, it's just the 2 of us. And then she texts me and says, yeah, I overheard her saying it was just her and the old guy. Just proving that words hurt. So, there we go. Words do hurt. Last question. I didn't. All right. So, we are going to start tonight. We're going to talk about a bunch of things. We're going to talk about why we focus our lives on God and all the important things in our lives. But first, we're going to talk about some key words. So, who knows what the word provide means? Where the heck is my candy? Suddenly the hands shoot up. Yes. What do you think the word provide means? Yeah. To give what is needed, to meet one's needs. That's awesome. I really like banana Laffy Taffy. It's the best kind. All right, so yes, to provide. We're going to talk about being provided for. There's not a lot of braces-friendly candy here. I'm not going to lie. Make a deal. Barter. All right. Obedience. Do any of you have a dog? Yeah. Okay, what's obedience? Well, you have good answers, but you can't catch. And so that's good. Yes, guidelines, rules, following the rules that have been given to you, right? Is this a comment or a... Oh, could I have fun? Faithfulness. You raised your hand. Faithfulness. Smarty pants. What does faithfulness mean? This is funny, isn't it? Mm-hmm. No, that's not what faithfulness means. That's the answer to every question in church, but it's not what faithfulness means. What do you think faithfulness means? And don't ever raise your hand just to beat your brother, because I'll call on you every time. That's pretty close. Faithfulness. So to be faithful is to be loyal to God, to believe in all the things that God promises. All right, speaking of promises, what do you think?
It's like a promise is like
what you say you're going to do. Not just what you say you're going to do, but like following through, the pledge that you're going to do what you say you're going to do, right? So we're going to talk about all these things. Who remembers where we left off last week? What were we talking about last week, Sadie? Moses and Pharaoh. Yes. Yes. What else? What else? What about Moses and Pharaoh? I'm not even calling on you anymore. It's like a fake arm. That's all I see is a fake arm.
Moses was able to convince the Pharaoh to let the Israelites out of Egypt for some time, but then they came on back to Pharaoh.
Yeah. So Israelites were slaves, right? God was with his people, but they didn't know it because they were slaves. All right? Not a great guy. Pharaoh, not a great guy. Moses, great guy. Okay? He did what God asked. And so God did what? Saved his people. How did God save his people? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you remember. Can you tell me?
Yeah.
Yes. The firstborn son of every family. Yes. And Pharaoh said, get out. Yep. It was a little bit not as nice as fine, just, yes.
Didn't he let him go and didn't want them to go?
Yes. Yes, he let them go, and then he changed his mind. He chased after them. And then God did the whole Red Sea thing. Pretty cool. All right, so this is where we left off, okay? This is a map. I know. Seriously, do any of you like geography? No. Seriously? I love geography. Love it. It's fair. Okay. So this here, it's Egypt. Okay? Does anybody know what's in Egypt? Tell me something that's in Egypt. Something that's in Egypt. The pyramids are in Egypt. Do you know who built the pyramids? Not Pharaoh. Let me tell you, Pharaoh did not build the pyramids. Slaves built the pyramids. Zach is here to tell me. Yeah. I'm going to give this to you pretty soon. All right. So we have Egypt over here. Okay? The Nile River. What is this? Anybody know what country that is right now? What country is that right now? It is Saudi Arabia. Yep. Very nice. That's Saudi Arabia right now. Okay? Who knows what this is up in here? Israel is up in here. So we got a lot going on in here. Okay? Where we're talking right now is actually right here. And so, right up here, number one, that's where the Pharaoh was. That's where he let the people go. Okay? So Moses, all that the 10 plagues, they all happen up here. Okay? We talked last week about a pillar of something and a cloud of something. Pillar and a cloud, anybody? Pillar, cloud? Pillar and cloud, anybody? Yeah, suddenly. Haha. Yeah. Yes. Very good. And that happened right around here. Okay? So that's where God sent the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. All right? Then we have the old Red Sea. Okay? Where they passed the Red Sea. This is right here. All right? This is blown up. Yes. Habib. And I just called on you because you raised your hand. Okay. So, here's the thing that's really curious. As I was looking at this is a possible route. I found 5 different maps that show different variations of where Moses went through the wilderness. Nobody really knows. These are guesses. Okay? So where we're going to talk next, so we're here in the story, right? God saved his people, and where we're going to talk about next is down in here. Okay? So we're going to talk about Elam and this wilderness of sin. That's today's story. Yes? What? Yes.
How much time?
These take me 2 to 3 hours. So, we're not going to open the Bible, but we're going to talk about a bunch of different Bible verses today. The first is going to be Exodus. We talked a lot about Exodus so far, right? We listened to half of Exodus last week, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about Exodus. Now we've got some other things going on, okay? So Exodus, that's right. We're starting with a little story, because who doesn't like Lego people in the Bible? It's classic stuff. It really is. Okay, so in Exodus, they're setting out to a place called Elim. That's right down here. Okay? So we've made it across the Red Sea. We're traveling down through the wilderness. We get to Elim. We leave Elim. Okay? And they enter into the desert of Sin. That sounds great. That's like a movie, don't you think? Like the Rambo's going to the desert of Sin. Yeah. This? No. I didn't. I have a lot of Legos at home, and I love Legos. I'm dedicated, not that dedicated. No. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Indiana Jones in the desert of sin. Absolutely, I agree. All right, so they're out wandering, and let's be honest, they get a little bit cranky. How many of you have ever been on a trip with your parents? In a car? How many of you have ever said, "Are we there yet?" Okay? How long did it take you? How long had you been driving before you said, "Are we there yet?" How long? 5 minutes. Thank you for being, you know what? Keeping it real. That's what I'm talking about. All right, 5 minutes. How long? Yeah, how long? Yeah. These guys have been wandering 20 years. Are we there yet? Like, I think after 20 years, that's a fair question. Right? You guys aren't even 20 years old. Although. All right, and so they say, you know what? Why couldn't you just kill us in Egypt? Right? At least there we could sit, we could eat. You've led us into this desert to starve us, is what they complain. They're a bunch of whiners. I mean, let's be honest. Right? It kind of does. Okay? And so Moses is here listening to all this. He's like, we've had enough. We're tired. We're hungry. You came out here to kill us. Okay? What do you think happens next? What do you think? Close, but not quite. You're going to be fascinated by this. Do you know who this is? God. Isn't that awesome? All right. God says, this is Moses. Moses, not a happy camper right now. He's tired of all the whining. Are we there yet? He's tired of all of it. Okay? And so, God says, you want food? I promised. I don't have an update yet. Sorry. But I warned you. My head's not totally in this. So, he says, 1-to-1 in the bottom of the first. So, we'll keep giving you updates. God says, you know what? I promise to take care of you. And yeah, living in the desert's not the greatest thing in the world. It's hard, right? And so I'm going to give you food. I'm going to have it rain down from the heavens every day. Go out and collect your food. Do you have a question?
Why is Moses so short?
Well, maybe God is so tall. All right, so God says, I'm going to send food every day. It's going to rain down from heaven. Is this a question? What's that? All right. So all this stuff fell. The stuff has a name. Does anybody have any idea what this stuff is called? What is this stuff called, Pierce? What's that? Hail. No. 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 What's this stuff called? Nope. Nope. It's white, but it's not bread. Not bread. What's this stuff called? Manna from heaven. Absolutely. Manna. Have you ever heard the word manna? Manna from heaven? Okay. So, God says the next morning there's a layer of dew all over the camp. And when the dew lifted, there's something fine and granular that we call not hail. No. It's called manna. Okay? Well, they didn't know what it was either. They thought it was hail. Okay? So they looked at each other and said, what is that? Right? And Moses answered and said, this is the food that God has given you to eat. For God heard your complaints. You complained, and God says, you know what? I'm willing to put up with complainers. Do you have a question? Okay, what question do you have? Ooh, that's a good question. How many of you have heard the word, whatever this is? Yahweh. It is. It means God in Hebrew. Okay? So, good for you. Yes? Wandering in the wilderness. They find food. It's not a lot of it. They're in the wilderness. Right? It's not like the wilderness that, like, pick and save. No. But God provides. And so, Yahweh, which is the Hebrew word for God, you know what? That's worth even more than a piece of candy. All right. Attaboy. So, God heard your complaints, and God gives you food. All right? Again, God continues to save his people. God made a promise, right? What was God's promise when they were in Egypt? What was God's promise? Yes. Okay? I will save you. I will save you. And even when they're in the wilderness, doesn't seem like it, because the Israelites kind of complain from time to time, God still saves them. A lot. Let's face it. They were kind of like a bunch of teenagers. All right. Does everybody understand where we are so far? Okay, so here's the fun part. So if that was us in the wilderness, 20 years, not a lot of food. Let's be honest, not a lot of food. What should these guys' response have been? Steve, what do you think? I'm not calling on you. It's like a fake hand. All I see is a little fake hand waving up there. Go ahead.
They probably think thank you or do not eat this because it's poisonous.
That's one way to look at it. What do you think? That's fair. Okay, what else? Well, some people, maybe somebody in the back row who's kind of the whole time. Well, I'm looking for somebody else. I think you are great. The rest of your team. I'm waiting. Yeah. What's that? The Mets. Okay. Somebody? I really want to see the Brewer game, but I have more patience than. All right. What do you think? Give me an answer. What? Willow, I'm going to call on you. Because I don't like you. That's not even true. I do like you. So the Israelites have been wandering in the desert for 20 years, barely getting enough food. God finally answers their prayers and gives them things that look like hail, but it's really kind of like flakes of not a lot. But it's food. If you were them, what would you think? Yay, this guy is great, or finally, or it's about time, or you'd take it. Okay. Yeah, I'd be a little bit of. Does that sum it up? Okay. All right. Should be. You're absolutely right. All right, so let's see what the Bible tells us to do, okay? Oh. Okay, so we're going to read this real quick. I want to find two things. Let's look up Deuteronomy real quick. Deuteronomy 6. We're going to skip Joshua. Deuteronomy 6. So open your Bibles. Deuteronomy, Old Testament or New Testament? Old Testament. It is the 5th book in the Bible. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Okay, cool. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 6. Deuteronomy chapter 6. If you read, you could have candy, but you don't have a Bible, so I don't know what you're going to read. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 6. Verse 4 through 9. All right.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. Keep these words that I am commanding you today in your heart. Recite them to your children and talk about them when you are at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you rise. Bind them as a sign on your hand. Fix them as an emblem on your forehead, and write them on your. Oh wait.
All right. Love. Who? What? What was the next word? Love who? God. Love God just a little bit. That's what it says, right? Love God just this much. No. Love God with all of your heart and your mind and your... You were just ahead of the game. Yes. Okay. So the Bible says in Deuteronomy, seriously, people, love God with all of your heart and all of your mind and all of your soul. All right. Let's see what Jesus says. Let's go to Matthew. Matthew chapter 22. Who can find Matthew chapter 22? Matthew, Old Testament or New Testament? New Testament. Absolutely. Matthew is the first book in the New Testament. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. But I'm looking for Matthew 22. Matthew 22. That's great. Nice job by you. You know what? I'm not afraid to give them. Right there. Yeah. All right. Do you want to read? Yeah. All right, Matthew 22. Does everybody find it? Matthew 22, 34. All right, listen up.
When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together, and one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. "Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest?" He said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets."
All right, the word was Sadducees, which is kind of like a Pharisee. There's church rulers. So there's Pharisees and Sadducees. And so they asked him, they're trying to trick Jesus. They say, what's the most important law? Right? And Jesus says what? To love. That's not the second one. What's the first one he says? To love, the big G, God, but just a little bit. No. With all of your heart and with all of your mind and all of your soul. It's the same thing that was in Deuteronomy. So he's basically repeating Deuteronomy. But then he says a second thing, Evan. What does he say? So, the two things that God asks. He saves us, right? And so our response is, love God and love your neighbor. And that's where we get, that's right, Bob Ross. Okay. Who remembers, if you were here last year, you might remember we talked about Bob Ross. Yes, Bob Ross is the Good Samaritan. Okay? It's amazing when you find the right, it does look like Bob Ross, doesn't it? Tell me it doesn't.
It does look like Bob Ross.
Yeah. All right. So, Bob Ross was the Good Samaritan. Who remembers the story of the Good Samaritan? Because this is interesting. So, right after this story in Matthew, if you look in Luke, right after he says this is the example he gives. Okay? What happened with the Good Samaritan? Somebody who has not talked yet at all today. You want to wave your fake little hand? Huh? Who remembers the Good Samaritan? Does anybody remember the Good Samaritan? Yeah. was like a little wave, wasn't it? Okay. Give me the real short version of the Good Samaritan. Real Good Samaritan. Nothing? Do you want me to pass on you for a second? What do you got? He saved a dying man. Well, that is the Reader's Digest version, isn't it? That is the very abridged version. Okay. You know what? Abridged Laffy Taffy. Okay. What do you think? That's kind of repeating what we had here. So for that, you get Starburst. Okay, how about a real? We'll see how good your story is. Tell me the story of the Good Samaritan. Yep. Yeah, yep. And what did the priest do? Give me a sound. A sound. How about something like... Yes, that's what he did. A Levite. And he also did? Yes. Yes. That's a bad catch. All right, and here's the thing. Samaritans were thought to be bad people. Okay? Bob Ross is a great person, let's be honest. But Samaritans were thought to be bad people. And so the point of this parable is we find ways to help other people, right? So, darn it. We'll do it anyway. I'm curious. We're out of order here. What do you guys, what's important to you guys right now? Like, what do you, you're in church, that's a really great answer. But like in real life, okay, what do you spend your time thinking about and doing? Sports. That's fair. Okay, what else? School. I know. I have work. It's the same thing. It's a drag. Yeah, what else? Family. Yes. What else? Oh, I could do it right now. I know. Okay, what else? Yeah, I know. I was surprised they called on you too. What else? Sports. Okay. Money. Yeah. Reading. Very good. What else? Wow. All right. Friends, right? We spend a lot of time with our friends. School. I get it. I get it. Video games. All right? Sports. All right? How many of you spend a lot of your time focused on these things? Okay, and the rest of you are lying. Not all of them, but some of them. Yeah, right? Okay. So if I'm being honest, I'm not in school anymore, but work, friends, money, sports, that's the bulk of my life too. Okay? They don't have to. The point is they're a distraction. They're things that we think about, right? So the question is, we found out we should be focusing our lives on God. That's what it said, right? When we first started this thing, you should be focusing your lives on God. What does that even mean? Yeah. God, 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 God. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Listen to what he says in the Bible and be kind to all your neighbors and such, and be kind to everyone.
That is really good as well. So our big question is, I got a lot going on. Raise your hand if you got a lot going on. We all got a lot going on, right? Okay? Why should I focus on God? What do you think, Sadie? Yes. Yes. Why do you think? Yes. Think about the Israelites, right? They're in the middle of the wilderness, okay? And God still, even though they're whiners, God still helps them. Yeah, what do you think? Say it again. Ooh, I'm going to disagree with your sister on that one. Okay? Yeah. But I think Zach, you made a really good point. God doesn't ask us to think about him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? But there's a balance, right? So being here in confirmation, being at church, doing the right thing, right? That's what God asks us to do all the time. So, all right. Think we are. We're killing it. We're doing great. All right. So we're a quiz show. I'm going to call on somebody. Now I'm angry. All right. Who wants to answer question number 1? That's a great idea. I'm going to pick somebody randomly. All right. You get question number 1. All right. Question number 1 is, after escaping slavery in Egypt, the Israelites, A, built a church in honor of God. B, started a band. C, complained about their living conditions. Or D, elected Moses as their king. It's multiple choice. So this is where you guess A, B, C, or D. A, B, C, or D? I didn't hear her. How old do you think I am? I mean, ask the woman at Pilates. Like, old. That's a good guess. C. You get number 2. Manna is what? Slang for banana. It's a type of bread that was provided in the wilderness. It's the newest dance craze or the newest kind of soft drink. B? Attaboy. All right. Number 3. Well, you're going to answer it. Here we go. Giddy up. All right. When God makes a covenant or a promise with people, A, you can bet it won't happen. B, it's only for a short time only. Dude. C, God will always keep his promises. Or D, none of the above. What do you think? Nice job. All right. 4, what do you got? Living for yourself rather than living for God means A, God will be very pleased with you and jump up and down for joy. B, you have broken the first commandment. C, your relationship with God will suffer. Or D, both B and C. Again, this is living for yourself rather than living for God. Bam. Yes, nice job. All right, number 5. You want number 5? The capital of Djibouti is? It is, yes. You're absolutely right, yes. All right, God provided manna and quail for the Hebrew people when they wandered in the wilderness because A, God had nothing better to do. B, God had this new recipe for manna and quail hot dish and was eager to try it out. C, it was a reminder that God's always faithful, even when we're not. Did you just say what the heck? Let me help you. I may be old, but my memory's really good. All right. Right here. Allowing God to sit in the driver's seat means God wants to take your car out for a spin. Giving God the best seat in the drive-in movie. God is the one who is steering the bumper car at the arcade. Or D, giving God full reign and full control of your life. Very nice.
It's definitely A2.
Yeah. All right. We didn't do Joshua. So here's the thing, people. I own the candy. I give it out when I'm ready. Sometimes you get it. Sometimes you don't. That's what bribery is all about. Joshua said he and his house were serving the latest soft drink, man and quail hot dish. The Lord, or whomever they wanted. Beeb, what do you think? Very nice. And the last one. When asked about the great command, Jesus told the parable of Bob Ross. You betcha. All right. So, you guys are good to go. It's 3-1 Mets. So go Brewers. Have a great night. We'll see everybody next week. Yeah. Well, small group time. You have some control. Absolutely, you have some control.